You can say what you want about Chinese cars, but it's hard to argue with the fact that they have redefined what you should get for your money. We used to think that affordable cars had to be bland and devoid of any niceties, and that we had to pay top dollar if we wanted something with a well-equipped interior and decent performance. But that was then, because Chinese cars are setting new benchmarks when it comes to giving you a bang for your buck. And I'm sure there'll still be skeptics who'll say that all those bells and whistles are just fluff and that Chinese cars are still inferior when it comes to build quality. And I'll let you decide who to believe. But only after seeing this. Okay, so let's cover a bit of background about the brand. GAC has been around for well over a decade now, and in that time, their R&D center has worked with many established brands to give us products like this. And the fact that the JD Power initial quality study ranked GAC as the #1 Chinese brand 6 years in a row is a true testament of their dedication towards building quality automobiles. And it also shows in their products. From the quality of the paint to the minimal and even panel gaps, to how sturdy and solid all moving parts feel, everything seems well built and put together. But aside from the build quality, you also get a decent amount of features, such as daytime running lights, power folding heated side mirrors, puddle lamps, 18-inch wheels with a tire pressure monitoring system, and 4-wheel disc brakes. When you open the trunk, you'll find 450 liters of cargo space with the rear seats up, which can extend to over 1,400 liters with the rear seats folded. The seats fold flat and the load lift is fairly low, so getting heavy objects in and out won't be much of a chore. You also get a tonneau cover, which is a nice touch. The interior of the GS4 leans more towards durability and functionality versus flamboyance. And that's not such a bad thing, because even if there are hard plastics here and there, the simplicity here tells you that this will age well from both a durable and aesthetic standpoint. All touch points are also extremely soft. In terms of ergonomics, everything is well placed and within reach. The AC controls are in the form of buttons, and it doesn't take too long to get acquainted with them well enough so that you can operate them without looking. You'll find most of what you need right at your fingertips, and I mean that literally because the steering wheel has controls for your audio and cruise control. And speaking of ergonomics, I just love using the shifter. Its release button is in a unique spot, but it's just so easy and satisfying to use. Moving it is effortless, yet it doesn't feel cheap or flimsy. There's no shortage of features in here, because the GS4 gives you everything you could possibly need and even some of the things that you want. There was a time when you'd step into a car with leather seats and you'd say, wow. But nowadays, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because you also get a power adjustable seat for the driver and a touchscreen that serves as your infotainment. It even has a handy 360 camera. There's also a multi-info screen in your instrument cluster and an adequate number of storage areas and USB ports. You even get a sunroof. Now, it's not panoramic, but your rear passengers won't be left wanting. Because aside from having heaps of room back there, they also get rear air vents, USB ports, individual headrests, and a center armrest with cup holders. When it comes to safety, the GS4 also ticks all the boxes. You also get front and dual side airbags, ABS with EBD, brake assist, electronic stability control, an electronic park brake with an auto hold feature, and hill start hold control. Aside from that, there are some nice touches like how the fog lamps provide additional illumination when you use your turn signals. So that's quite a lot of features, but the real question is, how well does it drive? Well, let's find out. Under the hood of the GS4, you get a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine, which pumps out 151 horsepower and 235 Newton meters of torque. Now, those are decent numbers, but the best part about that is that peak torque comes in as early as 1,450 RPM, and it stays there until 4,250 RPM just before peak horsepower kicks in. And what that means is that you always have power on demand. So does it translate to a sporty drive? Well, yes and no. Yes, because there is adequate power and the suspension is pretty firm, so you can corner at speed with confidence. No, because the steering is pretty light and on-center feel is kind of vague. So while the suspension and the engine is sporty, the steering is built more for convenience or comfort. And then when you ring this thing out and take it to the red line, the power does taper off a bit past the 5,000 RPM mark. But when you're driving in Metro Manila, you'll hardly get the chance to take it to the red line. If you're lucky, you'll be able to do that on first gear on a really clear road. But most of the people who use this thing will appreciate the fact that power comes in earlier on in the rev range, because most of them use 2/3 of the rev range anyway. Now you also get 3 drive modes to choose from. You have E for Eco, and you can use that when you're trying to stretch your fuel mileage. Then you have M for manual mode, and of course you use that if you want to select the gears yourself. And then you also have normal mode if you just can't be bothered with it. You can also move the gear lever down a notch and put it on sport mode if you want to have a bit more fun. Oh, and also worth noting is the fact that there's absolutely no shift shock, even when you drive this thing hard. This transmission just downshifts so smoothly. Now in terms of fuel efficiency, I'm getting around 8 kilometers per liter city driving. But do note that traffic has been pretty light these past few days, quite surprisingly. But I've had this thing on normal mode ever since, and I have been driving it pretty hard. So I think 8 to 10 kilometers per liter in normal city driving is doable as long as you have it on eco mode. So this is the kind of car you get if you want a daily driver that's comfortable and easy to use, while having something with adequate power and good handling for when you're taking those trips out of town. The GS4 can be yours for 1,188,000 pesos. And that means you can get a compact crossover that undercuts the price of some subcompacts. And I hope I was able to show you that that isn't too good to be true. Because in terms of quality, performance, and features, there really is no compromise. And if you don't want to take my word for it, you can see for yourself by going to your nearest GAC dealership and taking a test drive. I'd like to give a special thanks to GAC Motor Philippines and GAC Motor Pasig for making this review possible. You can follow them on social media by clicking the links in the description below. Thanks for watching.